Welcome to Metaphysical Soul Speak. I'm your host, Elena Fox Starks. Hey guys, I hope you're doing really well in this moment in time on this planet that we happen to be on right now. I hope that you are remembering now, first of all, to breathe. Just breathing in that good ass prana, baby, as Ralph Smart of YouTube fame says. I hope that you're also remembering to meditate. I've noticed my son has been meditating all day long. He didn't even talk to me all day, but I did catch him on the couch with his eyes closed, and he was so still. I didn't know he was there. He scared me. I was like, whoa. So he's been deep in meditation for 2 days, and that's good. Meditating helps you connect and to create the world you want, connects with you with the divine, it connects you with your higher self, and with all the things that align with your soul's purpose. When you meditate, you are allowing all the information you've taken in to kind of percolate, and you allow that energy to be distributed the way it will. For example, we're taking in so much energy and so much information about this ascension. I don't know if you guys are like me, but I'm constantly searching and seeking and listening to all the information and sifting through it, wading through it. A lot of it's just BS. It's not true. A lot of the stuff is put out there by people who don't have decent skills and discernment. So you got to wade through it. You just do. You have to wade through all of it and see who's real, who's not real, who's biased in one way or another, who's still being judgmental about one thing or another. For example, there's somebody who I'm not going to mention by name, but says that the Pleiadians are service to self. And I suppose in a way, maybe they are, just like we are service to self. Most of us are anyway, to a certain extent, or not. But they are here to help us. Probably because they want to feel good about themselves, which is service to self. I mean, not everybody trying to help us is going to be a fully realized self-ascended master, even though they're helping us too. Service to others is most of what I think the Pleiadians are, but maybe there's still some service to self there, but who knows? But for someone to make a blatant statement saying that all Pleiadians are like that, I think that that's nearsighted, a bit far-fetched. So you got to wade through it. You got to just use your discernment, Those of us who are starseeds, we do have the Pleiadian ascension partners, the ones who wish to help us if we have no one else to meditate with. But if you've got people to meditate with, by all means. In fact, I just read from this book. Hold on a minute. If I find it, I'm going to open the page and see. I wanted you guys to see this part, or at least listen to it. Karma Transformed is the book, and it's written by Dr. Kelly Randolph Bennett and Charlie Romney Brown, M.A. So Dr. Bennett was my psychologist. He helped me with brainwave optimization. It was really cool. My son and I went. We didn't finish our treatments because Dr. Bennett had to move to Mexico because his higher self said, hey, it's time for you to move, you guys. He was old. He graduated from university when I was born. So he graduated from university when I was, 50 years ago, 51 years ago. So, I mean, he must have been 19, 20, 22 years old then. So 70, but he was in his 80s, and that was his PhD. So, man, God bless Dr. Bennett. He's still going strong, though. Let's see. I'm looking for this because, all right. Meditation will help it materialize fastest. And what this is let me go back. Let me go back a paragraph. We are aware that feelings of uncertainty for humans can be immense. But keep going in spite of the fear. That is what builds strength through trust and confidence in us. Though you can't see down the road very far, we can. And this is like God and like your spiritual team. It's like basically Dr. Bennett's spiritual team talking to him through the book. He says, they say, you are counting on our vision for you, and we are not about to let you fail. With us on your side, there is no reason to do anything but succeed. And Dr. Bennett asked the question, please be more specific about how we can create a new direction. And they said, meditation will help it materialize fastest. It gets all of the iron filings polarized, going in the same direction. This helps you when confronted with an intimidating situation. You know that all is well with our unity, and you will feel calm, collected, directed, and protected. Real peace is what happens when you meditate. It is the best tranquilizer around. It is the finest way to recreate. Meditation gives us the setting within which we can build your potency by adjusting your energies. That is why time spent meditating is so important. And meditating with just one other person multiplies the strengthening effect by a factor of 4. That is 2 squared. So, I'm not going to read more in the book, but again, the book is Karma Transformed, Fast Track Your Evolution by Dr. Bennett and Cheryl Romney Brown. So, the Pleiadians the other day, Michael Sherahan said it's going to increase it by 20%, but it's actually 4 times more. Might be like 400% actually when you have someone to meditate with. So with a Pleiadian who's disincarnate, or not disincarnate, but they're incarnate, but they are just here with you in spirit, like astral traveling, that might be only increasing it by 20% or maybe 2 times. I could see that. Or maybe he said like 10% with a partner or 20% with your twin flame. I don't know. I can't remember what he said now, but try to meditate with other people. If you want to, you could go find a self-realization fellowship near you. There's one in almost every country. And they have regular meetings where you just go and meditate. You don't have to talk to anybody. You don't have to meditate the same way they're meditating, because how would they know? Just focus on your third eye and sit in silence with others. Your efforts will be increased. I think by 2 times everyone in the room. And there's 100 people, that's 200%, right? Or no, 200 times more, not percent. 200 times more. But times you, it's like 400 times. Something like that. Maybe even more than that. I don't know. I'm not going to do the math right now. But I wanted to bring that up. You know, like meditating is super, super important. Because you sort things out through meditation, and also all the fear in your heart is gone. When you could focus on and have a pure meditation where it's all you're thinking about is connection with the divine. That's all meditation is, if you do it right. I mean, you can focus on a spot or a number or a color, but why not just focus on connecting and having a true and meaningful relationship with the one who created you via telepathy? I mean, maybe telepathy might not be the first thing forthcoming. Maybe just a sense of inner peace. And it might take you a while to achieve that peace. So if you haven't already started meditating, start now. Eventually one day you're going to wake up and go, wow, I just had the most intense, peaceful meditation. Right? So there's that, first of all, meditation. But the other thing, I was reading further along in this book, and they mentioned that your heart will tell you certain things. And then God and I were having this conversation, and he further expanded the dialogue for me. That he said that when you are in 100% alignment, like your aura is clear, your mental body and emotional body are clear, your chakras are all open and everything is aligned, and you can blow away the stress. I tend to imagine the stress inside me as a cobalt blue. And when I blow it out, it's like I'm blowing through a very long straw, like a very elegant 2-foot long straw, and I'm blowing it that far away from me in a thin, long line of cobalt blue. I don't know why. A spirit came to me in the night and told me that that would be a good way to do it. I think it was a fairy spirit. So I said, okay, cool. I tried it and it actually worked for me. So I thought that was a really kind of a neat idea. I mean, for me, that's how it works. But for you, it might be just blowing things away in clouds, or imagining blowing your stress into a balloon. And when the balloon pops, all the negative energy dissipates or transforms to positive. However you want to do it. But I had this revelation tonight that God was showing me that after you get rid of all the stress and you meditate for a little while, and everything's dissipated. And I put my right hand below my heart, my left hand above my heart. Maybe it'd be the opposite if you're a man. I don't know. Or if you're left-handed, I don't know. But do whatever feels right for you. And then I said the names of 4 or 5 different men that I had interest in. And some were exes from my past. And I wanted to see where in my heart I felt any blockages, meaning they're not right for me. And one person's name came up where there's a block in the right part of my heart. Another person was like to the left part of my heart. When I said my ex-husband who died, I said his name, felt like a punch to my heart. Just a bam. Because he betrayed me and his own children in the end. Like, he didn't cheat on me, nothing like that, but just like going back on his word of being a husband and father, he just kind of let himself die, basically. Even though he had the cure, we had several cures in the cabinet he kept ignoring, and it just got worse and worse. You know, and they divorced me out of nowhere and made certain his kids and I would be homeless upon his demise. You know, so it was like a punch to the heart when it happened. And when I said his name, I felt that punch to the heart. And I was like, whoa. So that's like really telling, right? And I'm like, okay, let that go. Let that energy go from those 3 persons. And then I have a couple men in my life now that expressed an interest in me, dating me or whatever. And I said their names, the first person. Again, there was like on one side of my heart a little bit of a block. And I thought, okay, I delved into that and I saw that he's not ready for a relationship. But overall, there was no bad feelings. It was just like a block. And then I said another person's name, and there was a block in a different part of my heart. And I asked, and he's not done with the karma with his current relationship that he's trying to get out of. But the karma is still there. He's not done. So I'm like, all right, good. And I sent them both love, because if they're going to work it out, I want them to be happy, right? Because it's for the best and the greatest good for all of the people involved in everything that we do. That's what makes, it makes us more enlightened if we consider that the love and the light for everybody involved is in correct timing and divine timing and with the highest vibration for everybody involved. And so anyway, I said the name of somebody who I believe to be my twin flame. Haven't met him yet, haven't had any contact yet, but I said his name. What I've heard, his name, I've heard God has given me his name in the past. I wanted to make sure. So I said this person's name, the name at least I heard. And I felt this wide opening, amazing energy. And it was just like a kind of like a spiral wind, and my heart opened so huge. My heart grew 3 sizes that day. Seriously, I felt like a spiritual Grinch. Okay, well, not really a Grinch, but not at all. But I felt that, but then I felt a little teeny tiny block to the left side of my heart. And I recognized that was where I felt it when I said this other person's name, who hasn't quite broken up with his girlfriend yet, but intends to. And I recognized that energy. I'm like, oh, so he's still dealing with some problems or situation to do with an ex. It wasn't quite as big of a block, it was very tiny. So I feel that he already broke up with her, but there's still some, maybe there's legal issues, maybe there's some kind of something that is still holding him back a little bit. And I'm like, okay, God, well, I'll wait for him. Not a problem. So I'm starting to feel where the blocks are and what they mean. So like when I said that my near twin that I had a relationship with for a while, and he even called me like a few months ago and he said, well, my girlfriend and I aren't together anymore and I really love you. And if it doesn't work out with her, I would love to come and have a life with you in Ecuador. I'm like, wow. It's something to think about. Well, when I said his name, I had a block on the right-hand side. So he's still with her, obviously. They actually got back together and everything's fine. I hope they're happy, and I send them love and light too. She seems like a very sweet person. But I felt like that block to the right half of my heart, I kind of felt like in him that would feel on the left. I kind of felt like we're mirrors of each other, and so it'd be a little bit the opposite, right? And so I got the feeling that for him, I'm in the past. I'm a past girlfriend, right? And anyway, so it will probably be different for you guys, right? But when you try to use your heart as your guide, literally, and you say the name or you say a situation. So then I moved it forward. I did a whole cleansing again in my aura, and I did a thing where I said, okay, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say various scenarios, right? What is my year going to be like now? And I said, buying a house in Yungia with a swimming pool. You guys know how badly I want a swimming pool. I love floating. The energy and feeling of floating is like heavenly to me. So I want to float. I want to get a big, huge flotation device and just lounge around the pool and float on the pool and meditate. That's what I really want to do. And also, I want to exercise and get in shape and all that. But so I said that and my heart opened up and I felt no blocks. But when I asked time period, there was a block for this month, next month, and I said, what month is the best for us to live there? And I got March. March is the time in which everything will open up for us. And I'm like, oh my God, that's incredible. That's absolutely incredible, right? So I thought, all right, cool. That's okay, Daddy-o. That's fine. and then I said there's a farm that I liked. This very expensive farm, and I don't have the money right now for it. This massively beautiful farm. I want to make my spiritual retreat center. In fact, there's even a chapel on the property. And in the chapel, when I blew up the pictures, there's pictures of all the masters of the Self-Realization Fellowship. I mean, Paramahansa Yogananda's picture is in this chapel. And I'm like, I cried the first time I saw this picture. I just started bawling my head off. I'm like, I know that's meant for me. I accept it if it's not. I accept if it ends up being, someone else's property, because maybe that means it's best for them, right? Whatever works out is what's best for everyone involved. Because we are a unit, we are unified. In the unified field theory, we're unified, even though we can't tell from our perspective as individuals. But so I thought about it, and then I went back, and that was like months ago I saw that, and then a few days ago I saw it again, and it's still available, and I thought, oh my God, this place might be for me. It might be. It's still available, still on the market. It's expensive, but it's like 60 acres, and I was thinking about all the things I want to do, and things I want to set up for a physical visualization of healing the world, and how I want people to come and imagine that the world is healed and pure. And I want to have physical visualizations of that help people to visualize it in a very visceral and real way. And I start putting together, when I look at the property, I'm inspired about all the different ways I can heal the world, right? And all the ways that I can at least send my energy, my healing and love and light energy. And if the world needs it, they will take it. And if they don't need it. Either way, I don't have an ego tied or attached to it either way. But I just had all these ideas, though, for visualizations, but aids that are physical and on the property itself, right? And I can't really explain it. You'd have to be there. I'll put pictures. Someday this will happen somewhere. Maybe on that land, maybe not. I don't know. But I mentioned that, and I felt like, yes, it's yours, but it's not yours now. And I said, is that a priority for me? And the answer I got was no. And I said, but will be mine later. And the answer is yes. So it's all in divine timing again, right? And the other thing is, it's a working farm, but there's not a lot of people working there. And I'm like, what if I had enough money somehow from somewhere coming in where I could pay people a good living wage, and maybe even set up a place for them to live to help people, because there's a lot of refugees here. And I was like, oh, what if there were farmers that were refugees and they really miss farming? They want the piece of the land type of thing. Or maybe there's spiritual people with families. Maybe they have kids that want to, get a little section or corner of the land. I don't need 60 acres for myself, but I was thinking about all the things, or maybe we could have an intentional community. So all these thoughts, but I had a block, but it was a very soft energy, a soft block. It sounds weird, right? But it was a very soft sort of, and I thought, well, is it possible this is for me? And I got a yes. And I said, but is it possible it's not for me for another 6 months to 9 months? And I got a yes. And then I said, okay, I accept that. And then the block went away, because I know not to focus on that now. And I was told, don't focus on it now. It'll be there or it won't be, right? So and then I said, okay, should I buy an apartment here in Cuenca? Should I try to find a place I can afford eventually when I make money, if my investment pays off? And the answer was no. I'm like, okay, because I got a block. And I'm like, okay, so I used my heart as a guide again. I said, well, should I maintain an apartment here and pay rent for an apartment here? And the answer was yes, because there was no blocks. And so I want you guys to try this. Try this with everything. I mean, whether it's, should I stay in this job? Should I stay in this city? Should I stay in this relationship? Should I, if you have anything, should I get a dog? Should I get a new wardrobe? Should I spend money right now? Should I try to get a better car? Whatever it is. Your heart, if you allow it to be your guide, it literally will be. And almost it's another way of divination, but you're not relying on a source outside of yourself. You're relying on your own heart and your own energy field to be your guide. So I thought this was a fun new tool that came to me today. And I wanted to share it with y'all. I think it's cool. I'm going to use it from now on. I'm like, yeah. So you just say whatever the thing is. You clear your energy field entirely. say the thing that it is and focus on your heart. It helped me to focus by putting my right hand on my stomach and my left hand on my upper chest with my heart in the middle of my hands, if that makes sense, if you could see that. And then I asked, and I felt what happened and where it happened and what it felt like. The things felt like a little round hole with a straw coming through it, but with a block inside the straw. It sounds weird, but that's my way I took it. The block with the house that said "Don't worry about it right now" felt like one of those old-fashioned, very soft wood blocks that kindergartners play with when they learn how to build blocks. You know, the round one? And all the blocks felt round to me, except the punch felt like it was shaped like a fist. When I had the punch, like, that was a dead no. Absolutely no. Like, I felt like my heart stopped for a second, even though it didn't, like, physically stop. It felt like a energy, like a there's no oxygen, I can't breathe kind of energy, you know. And I kind of expected some kind of a block there, obviously, because A, he's dead, and B, there was divorce, and C, he betrayed me. You know, I mean, the whole part of "I will love you forever," and then you stop. You know, it's like, even though we divorced, I still love him. Like, I love all my exes that I told I love you to them. I still love them. You're supposed to love everybody. I love everyone on the planet. I love you. I love everybody. Now, some of my love it's pure and it's there, but it's like impersonal. And some of my love for people it's very personal, if I have a very personal relationship with them. But overall, I love everyone on the planet, no matter what. You know, like if I see a stranger bleeding on the street, I'm going to go help them because I love them, not because it's the right thing to do, or Samaritan laws like put me in jail, nothing like that. I'd help people because I help people. You know, last year my son and I saw a woman walking up and down the street and clutching her side and crying and crying and crying. And he went out and found out that she needed help. She lost some money to get home or something, and she was crying, and I guess she needed help with medicine, and she has a blind baby to take care of, and her husband left her, and we were just like, oh my God, this is like the saddest story. So he went with her. I gave him money. He gave her like $10, bought her medicine for her liver. She was having liver problems, and took her home to her house. And he met her blind baby and her other kids, and she's a single mom, and she like lost all of her money. Like, it was in her purse or something, and I guess she opened her purse and it flew out with the wind and she couldn't catch it, or I don't know. I can't remember the story. Something like that. Something really crazy, right? But it gave her the opportunity to be helped by a stranger, which may have restored her faith in humanity and possibly in God, because she told him she'd been praying to God for help. And God sent my son down there to help. So, because I said, oh my God, what's wrong with that lady? And he was like, I gotta go. He's like, I feel I have to go. I'm like, yeah. God laid it on his heart to help her. That happens. It happens. It's real. So, all right, when you go to spaceweather.com, if you feel like going, you'll find out that the solar wind speed today is 276.2 kilometers per second, which means it's not very rapid, not very fast at all, actually. The sun still has no sunspots at all. And the Oulu, Finland neutron counts today are high. So that's important to know. Let's see. There's something else on here. Oh yeah, 13 fireballs over the United States. Hello, over the whole planet. There were 13 fireballs spotted by NASA. I think the other day there's only 8. So, but last week there's over 20. So. It was something else. I'm looking at this going, yeah, I know I'm missing one thing here. Yeah, we're still in the solar minimum, obviously. There was a flare or something, though. Or solar wind. Let me look at this picture here. Oh, right. Solar wind flowing from the minor coronal hole could reach Earth tomorrow. So, if you get a little bit of extra energy, that's what happened. That's what happened. Heartmath.org is not working today. I tried it all day long. And nothing, just data unavailable. But disclosurenews.it, as far as the Schumann resonance, they do have something available. They said in the 9 o'clock report in the morning, UTC time, the first part of today's chart shows an initial calm situation that ended at 2 UTC, when a peak at power 18 gave the go to series of slight movement that are currently underway. The 10:30 a.m. report says, from 9 UTC, the movements seem to have changed pace. They went first to power 30 at 9:30 and then to power 57 at 10:20. And then in the 1700 evening report, they state, after the strong activity that lasted about 1 hour, from 9:15 to 10:14 UTC time, the situation gradually normalized until the calm reached at 14. So there you go. So the big news is 57, not too much over there in Italy, in Tomsk time, I guess is UTC. So, all right, there's that. Lesson 215 is where we're at in A Course in Miracles. You may find the Foundation for Inner Peace at acim.org, or you can just download an app for A Course in Miracles. We're on lesson 215. We're just reading this through. This week is still a review. Next Monday we'll start with a brand new lesson. But for today we're still reviewing. Lesson 215 starts with, I am not a body. I am free. For I am still as God created me. Taking from lesson 195, we're going to review with, love is the way I walk in gratitude. Love is the way I walk in gratitude. The Holy Spirit is my only guide. He walks with me in love, and I give thanks to Him for showing me the way to go. I am not a body. I am free. For I am still as God created me. So there you have it, guys. All right, so before we take a break, I want to tell you something weird that's been happening to me in the mornings before I'm fully back in my body, when my body is still numb and I feel like I'm floating or hovering above my body. I don't know if you guys get that or not, but it happens to me all the time. I've been downloading a bunch of symbols, and one of them is an 8-spoked wheel, almost like an old-fashioned wheel that you would use to steer a ship. And there's a bunch of these symbols that have been coming to me in flashes and flashes and flashes. I don't know what they mean, but the only one I remember every day, 3 days in a row over the weekend, was this 8-spoked wheel. I haven't looked it up. I don't know what it means. But it's literally like an old-fashioned ship wheel with like 2 circles and then the 8 spokes coming out of it. And they're like hand-hewn wood. It's weird because it's like a red symbol. It comes to me as either reddish brown or red on a field of white background when I see it in my mind. But then when I focus on it more, I literally see like an old-fashioned wheel of a ship, like a a merchant ship or a pirate ship. The old-fashioned heavy wood wheel. So it's like weird. It's like I know what I saw, and then I know what I see after I focus on what I saw. It's very weird. I can't explain it better than that right now. So that's been happening. And then on Saturday, the fairies from their world and their dimension, from their planet, not the fairies that live here on Earth, but fairies from another planet where they have a planet that's all theirs. I think it's a fifth dimension planet, possibly. I'm not really sure. But they came and said they want to talk and they want to be interviewed, maybe the way they interview others. I don't know if I'm going to do it yet. They haven't come back, but they came and told me that they're real and they're there. And I believe Cosmic Emperor said they're from Sprechen or something like that. I don't know if the ones that contacted me are from there or not, but it was a very weird experience. It was just like they were there, and there were like 4 or 5 representatives of this planet in another dimension coming to me to talk to me. And as always, I was using my discernment before I allow them on the air. I need to talk to them and get to know them more. But I thought that was very strange that happened. You know, the fairy folk that live on the planet Earth tend to trust me. I tend to have a great deal of love for them. But these are from another planet. So I thought that was weird. Weird things. Sometimes weird things happen to me, and they still do. And it's part of my magical life that I'm really grateful I have, by the way. So, all right, guys. Maybe the wheel is to steer your heart. Let your heart be your wheel. I don't know. Maybe it has something to do with that. This is one I'm going to be thinking on for a while. Anyway, I'm going to take a quick break, and when I come back, we're going to be reading part 19 of Allan Kardec's famous book, The Spirit's Book, that was published in April of 1857 in Paris, France. And I'll be back right after this quick message. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's high time you did. It is the absolute easiest way to make a podcast. First of all, it's absolutely free. Second of all, they have creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer. You guys have known that I've been doing this for 8 months using the Anchor.fm app right on my cell phone, and I have done it everywhere, right? I have recorded this in my living room, my bedroom, little cafes in Quito, Ecuador, all over Cuenca. It's so absolutely easy to make your podcast, and editing is just a snap. Anchor also will distribute your podcast for you, and it took me about 2.5 months to become syndicated, and now I'm available on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many more, and so can you. You can make money from your podcast also, and there's no minimum requirement. You get paid from your very first listener. It is everything that you need to make a podcast all in one place. So please, if you are interested in making a podcast of your very own, do not hesitate to start with Anchor. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started today. All right, guys, this is part 19 of Allan Kardec's The Spirit Book. This was originally published in Paris, France in April of 1857, and oh boy, did it cause a stir. Absolute stir. It got so intense throughout Europe that the Vatican started burning books throughout Europe, but it had already made it to Brazil, and it had already been translated from the French to the Portuguese, and what I'm reading is French to Portuguese to English, so bear with me as we read the Spirit's book. So question 665. What is to be thought of the opinion which rejects the idea of praying for the dead because it is not prescribed in the gospel? And the Spirit say, Christ has said to all mankind, love one another. This injunction implies for all men the duty of employing every possible means of testifying their affection for each other, but without entering into any details in regard to the manner of attaining that end. If it be true that nothing can turn aside the Creator from applying to every action of every spirit the absolute justice of which he is the type, it is nonetheless true that the prayer you address to him on behalf of a suffering spirit for whom you feel affection or compassion is accepted by him as a testimony of remembrance that never fails to bring relief and consolation to the sufferer. As soon as the latter manifests the slightest sign of repentance, but only then help is sent to him. But he is never allowed to remain in ignorance of the fact that a sympathizing heart has exerted itself on his behalf and is always left under the consoling impression that this friendly intercession has been of use to him. Thus, your intervention necessarily induces a feeling of gratitude and affection on his part to the friend who has given him this proof of kindness and of pity. And the mutual affection enjoined upon all men by Christ will thereby have been developed or awakened between you and him. Both of you will thus have obeyed the law of love and union imposed on all the beings of the universe, that divine law which will usher in the reign of unity that is the aim and end of a spirit's education. Oh, here's the big one, guys. Question 666. May we pray to spirits? The spirits say, you may pray to good spirits as beings, or as being the messengers of God and the executants of his will. But their power, which is always proportioned to their elevation, depends entirely on the master of all things, without whose permission nothing takes place. For this reason, prayers addressed to them are only efficacious if accepted by God. Now we're in the section called polytheism. Very interesting. Question 667. How is it that polytheism, although it is false, is nevertheless one of the most ancient, widespread of human beliefs? The spirits say, the conception of the unity of God could only be in the mind of man the result of the development of his ideas. Incapable in his ignorance of conceiving of an immaterial being without a determinate form, acting upon matter, man naturally attributed to him the attributes of corporeal nature, that is to say, a form and a face. And thenceforth, everything that appeared to surpass the proportions of an ordinary human intelligence was regarded by him as a divinity. Whatever he could not understand was looked upon by him as being the work of a supernatural power, and from that assumption to the belief in the existence of as many distinct powers as the various effects which he beheld but could not account for, there was but a step. But there have been in all ages enlightened men who have comprehended the impossibility of the world's being governed by this multitude of powers without a supreme overruling direction, and who have thus been led to raise their thought to the conception of the one sole God. All right, I'm going to go back a page because there's a little footnote. It says, this reply was given by the spirit of Mademoiselle Monod, the well-known, highly esteemed Protestant pastor of Paris, deceased in 1856. The preceding reply, number 664, was given by the spirit of St. Louis. That's weird. That's the name of a... Isn't that the name of an airplane? Isn't that the name of Howard Hughes's airplane? Which he didn't know 162 years ago, but I'm just moving right on. Maybe I shouldn't have even read the footnote because it's weird. Anyway, in case you're wondering who interpreted that one question 162 years ago. Weird, right? Okay. Like, it's funny that he doesn't put that for like 666 questions, and then suddenly he gives like credit to one person. Very weird. I'm going to try here. Let me see if I could. I forgot to do the do not disturb. All right. Hopefully. I'm like trying to get the, I'm not touching my phone. You guys, this is like so ridiculous. I'm hunching over my phone. I'm sitting on a little bench on the floor, leaning over the phone and holding my computer up to my face. Because if I move the phone even a little bit, if I unplug it from the wall, all hell will break loose and it will stop. So, seriously, I'm going to buy a tablet and a phone. It's like I might not have enough money this month to buy one or the other. I definitely can't afford both at once. So I'm trying to figure out this. I can't even have guests on the show. This is so ridiculous because I don't know what's going to happen with my phone. I either need to get the battery replaced, but it might not be that. It might be something else with this phone. So I might just need a brand new phone. Totally ridiculous. All right. Pray for me, guys, for my electronical crap to get fixed. All right. Moving right along with the Spirits book, the reason we're here tonight. Question 668. As phenomena attesting the action of spirits have occurred in all ages of the world and have thus been known from the earliest times, may they not have helped to induce a belief in the plurality of gods? And the spirits say, undoubtedly, for as men applied the term God to whatever surpassed humanity, spirits were for them so many gods. For this reason, whenever a man distinguished himself among all others by his actions, his genius or an occult power incomprehensible by the vulgar, he was made a god of and was worshipped as such after his death. Right, so... Okay, he has a pretty long explanation here, what Allan Kardec adds, but before we get into it, I did want to bring that up because, you know, no matter what being contacts you, they're not a freaking god, okay? The only one person that can talk to you that is a god is literally the God, prime creator of the universe, the one will to life, that creates and sustains the whole universe at once. You could call it source, you could call it God, you could call it goddess, you know, like female God, whatever you want to call it, but there's one God, one true God. And you could say Mother, Father, God if that makes you feel better. You could say Mother God if that makes you feel better. But when people contact you from other planets and other realms and other dimensions, because this is starting to happen more and more and more, don't worship them. Don't take every single thing they say as gospel truth. They could be freaking lying with you, messing with you. Apparently, the people that live inside the planet are always constantly working on trying to contact those of us who have telepathy coming online at this time. And they are giving us some truth and most of it mistruth to mislead us so we can't lead ourselves down to them. It's like people that want to be so deceptive, I don't want anything to do with them anyway. And they've been contacting people and saying that they're spirits. They've been saying that they're gods or ascended masters. They've been parading around as Pleiadians and other beings and giving away false truth. So I just wanted to throw that out there because I've been researching this more and more, and there's a lot of people that are extremely deceiving, and I just feel like we all have to use discernment. We have to be careful Remember, my friend Jude just mentioned today, because he's going back and listening to every single one of my episodes from last year to catch up. And he started laughing about it. It reminded me of the woman who I was following, and I had promoted her because she sounded normal. And then a couple days later, she channeled some being that said that we have to take all the pain from the planet. No, we don't. What the hell? She's like, if we all just take a little bit of pain from the earth, no, transmute it, transform it. Never take in another human being's or planet's pain. No, don't do it. Transform it, transmute it, ask the angels to heal it. Ask God to come and heal it. Ask God's energy to flow through you to heal it. Don't ever, ever, ever take in negative energy into your body. I mean, that's a lie from the Decepticons. So I'm just bringing it up. Discernment, 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 people. It's super important. All right, Allan Kardec's 2 cents worth after that question is, the word God among the ancients had a wide range of meaning. It did not, as in our days, represent the master of nature, but was a generic term applied to all beings who appeared to stand outside of the pale of ordinary humanity, and as manifestations that have since been known as spiritists had revealed to them the existence of incorporeal beings, it is a mere question of words, with this difference, however, that in their ignorance purposely kept up by those whose interests it served. They built temples and raised altars to them, making them offerings which became highly lucrative for the persons who had charge of the mode of worship, whereas, for us, spirits are merely creatures like ourselves, more or less advanced, and having cast off their earthly envelope. Like that word, earthly envelope. I wish I could lose weight in my earthly envelope. Okay, going back. If we carefully study the various attributes of the pagan divinities, we shall easily recognize those of the spirits of our day. At every degree of the scale of spirit life, their physical state in worlds of higher advancement, the part taken by them in the things of the earthly life, and the various properties of the perispirit. Christianity, in bringing its divine light to our world, has taught us to refer our adoration to the only object to which it is due. But it could not destroy what is an element of nature, and the belief in the existence of the incorporeal beings around us has been perpetuated under various names. Their manifestations have never ceased, but they have been diversely interpreted and often abused under the veil of mystery beneath which they were kept. While religion has regarded them as miracles, the incredulous have looked upon them as jugglery. But as the present time, thanks to a more serious study of the subject carried on in the broad daylight of scientific investigation, the doctrine of spirit presence and spirit action, stripped of the superstitious fancies by which it had been obscured for ages, reveals to us one of the sublimest and most important principles of nature. Oh, of nature. There was no period there, sorry. Oh my God. I love the lack of punctuation makes me look like a moron. It's like, come on. I know they have punctuation in Portuguese and in French. Anyway, okay. Moving right along to the next section called sacrifices. Ooh, really creepy. Question 669. The custom of offering human sacrifices dates from the remotest antiquity. How can mankind have been led to believe that such an enormity could be pleasing to God? I know, right? Hey, we love you. We're going to kill one of the people you made for you. Oh my God. Oh my God. Ugh. All right, the spirits say, In the first place, through their not having comprehended God as being the source of all goodness. Among primitive peoples, matter predominates over spirit. Their moral qualities not being yet developed, they give themselves up to the instincts of brutality. In the next place, the men of the primitive periods naturally considered that a living creature must be much more valuable in the sight of God than any merely material object, and this consideration led them to immolate to their divinities, first animals and afterwards men. Oh, you mean by men, like usually little virgin girls. Ugh. Men, right. Like there's never been their first thought. It's always been females and children. Anyway, moving right back to what they had to say. Sorry. Because according to their false ideas, they thought that the value of a sacrifice was proportioned to the importance of the victim. In your earthly life, when you wish to offer a present to anyone, you select the gift, the costliness of which is proportioned to the amount of attachment or consideration that you desire to testify to the person to whom you offer it. It was natural that men who were ignorant of the nature of the deity should do the same. I don't know, guys. I don't really buy that. Even though I guess, okay, if you're very wealthy and you have a lot of money, yeah, then that would be true. But my oldest kid a couple years ago, when we were very low on cash for Christmas, he cut the tops off of strawberries and washed them and dried them in the sun and made strawberry leaf tea for me. It was and then he made a little package and he drew his artwork on it. And then he was able to wrap that up in another piece of paper that he decorated like Christmas wrapping. And it was very, very sweet. One of the sweetest things I'd ever received in my life, to be honest. I've been thinking about it all week. It was so simple and so sweet. And even though he could have asked me for $20 to buy me a gift, he wanted to make the gifts. And that was one of them. He made me several. And I thought that was very sweet. It was very heartfelt. And it took a lot of his time to do it. So, I don't know. Strawberry leaf tea, by the way, is very, very good for you. It stops cramping in the body. And if you're pregnant especially, it's good for you. But it actually helps you in a wide variety of ways. It's like a tonic. It braces your system up. Anyway, I had to bring that up because, anyway. Follow-up question to this. The sacrificing of animals then preceded that of human beings, and the spirits say such was undoubtedly the case. Yeah, but there's still some religions around the world that still sacrifice animals. Not too much humans anymore, but as far as I know anyway, who knows, but weird. Okay, follow-up question. According to this explanation, the custom of sacrificing human beings did not originate in mere cruelty, and the spirits say no, but in a false idea as to what would be acceptable to God. Look, for instance, at the story of Abraham. In later times, men have still farther debased this false idea by immolating their enemies, the object of their own personal animosity. But God has never exacted sacrifices of any kind, not those of animals, no more than those of men. He could not be honored by the useless destruction of his own creations. I know, right? Question 670. Excuse me. Have human sacrifices, when offered with a pious intention, ever been pleasing to God? And the spirits say, no, never. But God always weighs the intention, which dictates any act. Men, being ignorant, may have believed that they were performing a laudable deed in immolating their fellow beings. And in such a case, God would accept their intention, but not their deed. The human race, in working out its own amelioration, naturally came to recognize its error and to abominate the idea of sacrifices that ought never to have entered into enlightened minds. I say enlightened because, however dense the veil of materiality, in which they were enveloped. Their free will sufficed, even then, to give them a glimmering perception of their origin and their destiny, and many among them already understood by intuition the wickedness they were committing, but which they nonetheless accomplished for the gratifications of their passions. Ooh. Question 671. What should be thought of the wars styled religious? The sentiment that induces a nation of fanatics to exterminate the greatest possible number of those who do not share their belief, with a view to rendering themselves acceptable to God, who would seem to proceed from the same source as that which formerly led them to immolate their fellow creatures as sacrifices. Yeah, exactly. So, the spirits say such wars are stirred up by evil spirits, and the men who wage them place themselves in direct opposition to the will of God, which is that each man should love his brother as himself. Since all religions, or rather all peoples, worship the same God, whatever the name by which they call him, why should one of them wage a war of extermination against another simply because his religion is different, or has not yet reached the degree of enlightenment arrived at by the aggressor? Not to believe the word of him who was sent by God and animated by his Spirit is excusable on the part of the peoples who neither saw him nor witnessed the acts performed by him, and at all events, how can you hope that they will hearken to his message of peace when you try to force it upon them by fire and sword? It is true that they have to be enlightened, and that it is your duty to endeavor to teach them the doctrine of Christ. But this must be done by persuasion and gentleness, not by violence and bloodshed. The greater number among you do not believe in the communication we have with certain mortals. How could you expect that strangers should believe your assertions in regard to this fact if your acts belied your doctrine you profess? Exactly. War is stupid, guys. Just war is stupid. Question 672. Was the offering of the fruits of the earth more acceptable in the sight of God than the sacrificing of animals? And the spirits say, It must evidently be more agreeable to God to be worshipped by the offering of the fruits of the earth rather than by that of the blood of victims. But I've already answered your question in telling you that God's judgment is directed to the intention, and that the outward fact is of little importance in his sight. A prayer sent up from the depths of the heart is 100-fold more agreeable to God than all the offerings you could possibly make to him. I repeat, the intention is everything. The fact, nothing. Question 673. Might not these offerings be rendered more agreeable to God by consecrating them to the relief of those who lack the necessaries of life? I think that means like necessities, but he says the necessaries. And in that case, might not the sacrificing of animals accomplished in view of a useful end be as meritorious as it is the reverse, when subserving no useful end or profiting only to those who are in need of nothing? Would there not be something truly pious in consecrating to the poor the first fruits of all that God grants to us upon the earth? And the spirits say, God always blesses those who do good. To help the poor and afflicted is the best of all ways of honoring him. I do not mean to say that God disapproves of the ceremonies you employ in praying to him, but a good deal of the money that thus spent might be more usefully employed. God loves simplicity in all things. The man who attaches more importance to externals than to the heart is a narrow-minded spirit. How then could it be possible for God to regard a form as of any importance in comparison with the sentiment of which it is the expression. Chapter 3. And in here we have 2, the law of labor. And then number 1 says, it says 2 like, 2 the law of labor. And then it says necessity of labor is number 1. And number 2 is limit of labor rest. All right, so we are in the section called necessity of labor. Question 674. Is the necessity of labor a law of nature? And the answer, that labor is a law of nature and is proved by the fact that it is a necessity and that civilization obliges man to perform a greater amount of labor because it increases the sum of his needs and of his enjoyments. Question 675. Ought we to understand by labor only occupations of a material nature? And the answer is no. The spirit labors like the body. Every sort of useful occupation is a labor. Question 676. Why is labor imposed upon mankind? The answer from the spirits, it is a consequence of his corporeal nature. It is an expiation and at the same time a means of developing his intelligence. Without labor, man would remain in the infancy of intelligence. This is why he is made to owe his food, his safety, and his well-being entirely to his labor and activity. To him who is too weak in body for the rougher kinds of work, God gives intelligence to make up for it. But the action of the intelligence is also a labor. Question 677. Why does nature herself provide for all the wants of the animals? The spirits say, everything in nature labors. The animals labor as you do, but their work, like their intelligence, is limited to the care of their own preservation. And this is why labor among them does not lead to progress, while among men it has a double aim, vis-a-vis the preservation of his body and the development of thought, which is also a necessity for him, and which raises him continually to a higher level. When I say that the labor of the animals is limited to the care of their preservation, I mean that this is the aim which they propose to themselves in working. But they are also unconsciously, and while providing only for their material needs, agents that second the views of the Creator, and their labor nonetheless concurs to the working out of the final end of nature, although you often fail to discover its immediate result. Question 678. In worlds more advanced than the earth, is man subjected to the same necessity of labor? And spirits say, the nature of the labor is always relative to that of the wants it supplies. The less material are those wants, the less material is the labor. But you must not suppose that man in those worlds remains inactive and useless. Idleness would be a torture instead of a benefit. Question 679. Is he who possesses a sufficiency of worldly goods for his subsistence enfranchised from the law of labor? And the spirits say, from material labor perhaps, but not from the obligation of rendering himself useful according to his means, and of developing his own intelligence and that of others, which is also a labor. If the man to whom God has apportioned a sufficiency of means for ensuring his corporeal existence be not constrained to win his bread by the sweat of his brow, the obligation of being useful to his fellow creatures is all the greater in his case, because the portion appointed to him gives him a greater amount of leisure for doing good. Question 680. Are there not men who are incapable of working at anything whatever and whose existence is entirely useless? And the spirits say, God is just. He condemns only him who is voluntarily useless, for such a one lives upon the labor of others. He wills that each should make himself useful according to his faculties. Question 680. Does the law of nature impose upon children the obligation of laboring for their parents? And the spirits say, certainly it does, just as it imposes on parents the duty of laboring for their children. For this reason, God has given a place in nature to the sentiment of filial and paternal affection, in order that the members of a family may be led by their mutual affection to aid each other reciprocally, a duty which is too often lost sight of in your present state of society. Wow, right? Even actually more now. It's less a duty for most kids and even parents to their children. I see that even more so here 162 years later, right? 163 years later. I just realized we're in 2020. Limit of labor rest. Question 682. Rest being a necessity after labor, is it not a law of nature? And the spirits say, undoubtedly it is. Rest serves to restore the bodily powers and is also necessary in order to give a little more freedom to the mind, enabling it to raise itself above matter. Question 683. What is the limit of labor? And the spirits say, the limit of strength, but God leaves man at liberty to decide this point for himself. Question 684. What is to be thought of those who misuse their authority by imposing too heavy a labor on their inferiors? And the spirits say, they commit one of the worst of crimes. Every man exercising authority is answerable for any excess of labor imposed by him on those who are under his orders, for he thereby transgresses the law of God. Question 685. Has man a right to repose in old age? The spirits say, yes. He's only obliged to labor according to his strength. Follow-up question. But what resource is there for the old man who needs to work in order to support himself and yet is unable to do so? The spirits say, the strong should work for the weak. Where family help is not to be had, society should supply its place, such as the law of charity. And Allan Kardec, he has his own 2 cents to this part. He says, to say that it is necessary for a man to work is not to make a complete statement of the subject, for it is also necessary that he who has to gel, it says gel his bread. I have no idea what that means. Gel his bread? Ew. We'll just say earn. I don't know what that's supposed to be, that word. So he who has to earn his bread by labor should be able to find occupation, and this is far from being always the case. Whenever the suspension of labor becomes general, it assumes the proportions of a famine. Economic science seeks a remedy for this evil in the equilibrium of production and consumption. But this equilibrium, supposing it to be attainable, will always be subject to intermittences, and during these intervals the laborer must live. There is an element of the question which is not sufficiently considered, vis-a-vis education, not merely the education of the intellect, not even that of a moral nature as given by books, but that which consists in the formation of characters and habits. For education is the totality of the habits acquired. When we consider how great a mass of individuals are thrown each day into the torrent of population, abandoned without principles or curb to the impulsions of their animal instincts, we can wonder at the disastrous consequences thence resulting. Oh, can we? It says, when the art of education shall be rightly understood and practiced, each man will bring into the sphere of daily life habits of order and forethought for himself and for those dependent on him, and of respect for what is worthy of being respected. And these habits will enable him to traverse periods of difficulty with greater ease. Disorder and improvidence are social sores that can only be cured by education rightly understood. The generalization of such education is the starting point and essential element of social, this is well-being, I think he means well-being, and the only pledge of security for all. I agree with that, but he missed out on the education of actually making your own clothes, growing your own food, and being 100% self-sufficient. Because self-sufficiency is sorely lacking in our society. A lot of people don't know how to grow their own food, or even where to find the seeds, or even how to test or check the soil for things that shouldn't be there, such as lead or whatever. And also for the pH, whether it's too acidic or too alkaline. We just weren't taught that in school. I really wish we had been taught how to have our own vegetable gardens and even had practice doing this in high school. I really believe that would be something we should consider adding to our educational system. Also, how to take water for free out of the air. That's another part of our education sorely lacking. Most people don't even know that's possible. Even in the desert where the air is dry, it's possible. Anyway, moving right along. Chapter 4. And now it says 3, I. Law of reproduction. 1, population of the globe. 2, succession and improvement of race. 3, obstacles to reproduction. 4, marriage and celibacy. 5, polygamy. So we're not going to get through this whole chapter. We're running out of time here. But here we go. Population of the globe. Question 686. Is the reproduction of living beings a law of nature? And the spirits say, evidently it is. Without reproduction, the corporeal world would perish. It was kind of a dumb question and snarky answer. Question 687. If the population of the globe goes on increasing as it has hitherto done, will it in course of time become too numerous? And the spirits say, no, the divine overruling always provides for and maintains equilibrium. God permits nothing useless. Man sees but a corner of the panorama of the universe and is therefore unable to perceive the harmony of its various departments. Why is the phrase "tell that to China" ringing through my mind right now? But still, even with as many people as we do have 50 years worth of food on the planet. It's just not equally distributed right now. All right, succession and improvement of races. This ought to be rich. Hopefully not as crazy as it sounds. All right, question 688. There are at this moment upon the earth races of men who are evidently and rapidly diminishing. Will they eventually disappear from it? And the spirits say yes, but it is because others will have taken their place, as your place will someday be taken by others. It's funny. I mean, we consider ourselves one race now, the human race, and this is very old book. But there really are races of other extraterrestrial beings living on the earth and underneath the surface of the earth. Just want to point that out. Question 689. Are the men now upon the earth a new creation or the improved descendants of the primitive human beings? And the spirits say, they are the same spirits come back to improve themselves with the aid of new bodies, but who are still very far from having reached perfection. Thus, the present human race, which by its increase tends to invade the whole earth and replace the races that are dying out, will have its period of decrease and disappearance. It will be replaced by other and more perfect races that will descend from the present race, as the civilized men of the present day are descended from the rough-hewn savages of the primitive periods. Yeah, that's true, I guess, right? We come from Neanderthals and others. Question 690. Regarded from a purely physical point of view, are the bodies of the present race of men a special creation, or have they proceeded from the bodies of the primitive races by reproduction? Spirits say, the origin of races is hidden in the night of time, but as they all belong to the great human family, whatever they may have been the primitive root of each, they may have been able to form alliances with one another and thus produce new types. And that's why, my friends, some of us are part Pleiadian. I have no idea how to find that out genetically, but I bet if you figured out how to find that out, we would find out a lot of us are. Maybe other species mixed with what we are, right? Question 691. What, from a physical point of view, is the distinctive dominant characteristic of primitive races? And the spirits say, the development of brute force at the expense of intellectual power. The contrary takes place at the present day, for man now acts rather through his intelligence than through his bodily strength, and yet he accomplishes 100-fold more than he formerly did, because he has learned to avail himself of the forces of nature, which the animals cannot do. Question 692. Is the improvement of the vegetable and animal races through the applications of science contrary to the law of nature? Would it be more conformable with that law to leave them to follow their normal course? Oh, so like improving them. Listen up, GMO people. The answer of the spirits. It is the duty of all beings to concur in every way in helping forward the general progress, and man himself is employed by God as an instrument for the accomplishment of his ends. Perfection being the aim toward which everything in nature is tending, to help forward this process of improvement is to assist in working out the divine intentions. And he says, but man, in his efforts to ameliorate the races of the lower ranges, he is generally moved by self-interest and has no other aim than the increase of his personal enjoyments. Does not this diminish the merit of his action? And the spirits say, what matters is that his merit should be null, provided the work of progress be accomplished. It is for him to render his labor meritorious by inspiring himself with a noble motive. Besides, in effecting these ameliorations, he develops his intelligence, and it is in this way that he derives the greatest benefit from his labor. Obstacles to reproduction. Question 693. Are the human laws and customs that have been established for the purpose of placing obstacles in the way of reproduction contrary to the laws of nature? The answer is, whatever hinders the operations of nature is contrary to the general law. What is he talking about? Social customs of like dating before marrying or birth control? Did they have birth control 162 years ago? Okay. Anyway, follow-up question. But there are many species of living beings, animal and vegetable, the unlimited reproduction of which would be hurtful to other species and would soon be destructive of the human race. Is it wrong for man to arrest their reproduction? The spirits say, God has given to man, over all the other living beings of his globe, a power which he ought to use for the general good, but not to abuse. He may regulate reproduction according to his needs, but he ought not to hinder it unnecessarily. The intelligent action of mankind is a counterpoise established by God for restoring the equilibrium of the forces of nature. And herein again man is distinguished from the animals because he does this understandingly, while the animals that also concur in maintaining this equilibrium do so unconsciously, through the instinct of destruction which has been given to them and which causes them, while providing for their own preservation only, to arrest the excessive development of the animal and vegetable species on which they feed, and which would otherwise become a source of danger. Question 694. What is to be thought of usages intended to arrest reproduction in the interest of sensuality? Oh, good. No, he does mean birth control. Spirits say, they prove the predominance of the body over the soul and show how deeply man has plunged himself into matter. Yes, but I mean, when you are of reproductive age, there's only literally like 2 or 3 days a month you can actually get pregnant. Maybe a week. That's it. I mean, provided you're a heterosexual couple, right? I think having intimacy is a very important part of marriage, whether you procreate or not. Again, remember, 92% of this is real, according to my higher guidance. When I asked Prime Creator, he basically said, the spirits here had it about 92% right. That's the only questionable thing they've said so far tonight, though, as far as I can see. All right, marriage and celibacy. Question 695. Is marriage, that is to say, the permanent union of two beings, contrary to the law of nature? And the spirits say, it is a progress arrived at by the human race. Way to be non-committal, guys. Question 696. What would be the effect upon human society of the abolition of marriage? And they say, a return to the life of the beasts. Really now? From non-committal to absolutely judgmental in 0.2 seconds flat, right? So the spirits, Allan Kardec, he adds his own 2 cents to that. He says, the free and fortuitous union of the sexes is the state of nature. Marriage is one of the first results of progress in the constitution of human society because it establishes fraternal solidarity being found among every people, though under different conditions. The abolition of marriage would therefore be a return to the infancy of the human race and would place man even below certain animals that give him the example of constant unions. Question 697. Is the absolute indissolubility of marriage? I'm going to say that again. Is the absolute indissolubility of marriage to be found in the law of nature, or is it only an ordination of human law? It's like freaking Catholic law. Anyway, all right, the spirits say it is a human law, although altogether contrary to the law of nature. But men may change their laws. Those of nature are alone unchangeable. Question 698. Is voluntary celibacy meritorious in the sight of God? And the spirits say no. Those who live single from selfish motives are displeasing to God, for they fail to perform their share of social duties. I don't know about that, honestly. I don't think it's a selfish motive to not want to be in a relationship when you don't have time for the other person. I think it's more selfish to marry somebody or get together and live with somebody just so that you get half of their money for the rent. I think that's more selfish if you don't really care about the person. And if you do it because you need your sexual needs gratified and you need money and you don't really love the person and you don't care about intimacy with the person, I think that's more selfish than if you know you'd only be having a relationship for selfish reasons. I think that's more displeasing. I don't know. What do you guys think? It's weird, right? I don't know. Maybe I'm reading too much into the question. Let's see. We only have a little bit left of this section, and then we're going to stop for right now. Question 699. Is not celibacy on the part of some persons a sacrifice made by them for the sake of devoting themselves more entirely to the service of humanity? And the spirits say, that is a very different thing. I said from selfish motives. Every sort of personal sacrifice is meritorious when it is made for a good end. And the greater the sacrifice, the greater the merit. Whew, redeemed yourself. But it's funny that it says I. Usually they're spirits. So apparently in this question, he's only talking to one spirit. All right. Allan Kardec has his own words here. He says, God cannot contradict himself, nor regard as evil what he himself has made. And therefore he cannot regard the violation of his law as meritorious. But although celibacy in itself is not meritorious, it may become much when the renunciation of family joys is a sacrifice accomplished in the interest of humanity. Every sacrifice of personal interests, which, when made for the good of others and without any reference to self, raises him who makes it above the level of his material condition. Thank you. It's like, so some of us actually did the family thing. The husband died and we raised our kids alone and we're celibate now, like me. But whatever. I'm still waiting for the one. I mean, I don't have to be celibate. I have plenty of men out there. I just don't want to, blech, it's just too gross. I don't want to do that. I want to find real love. It's more important to me. Well, that's it. That's the reading of the Spirit's Book, Part 19 for today. Polygamy is where we're going to be at when we come back next week. So, you know, it's going to be interesting next week. All right. That's it, guys. I love each and every one of you, and I wanted to thank you for listening to my show and continuing to support me in various ways. And thank you for forwarding my show to those in need, especially those who are becoming more spiritually awake and aware in these days, because there's going to be thousands of people waking up soon, and you won't feel so alone, and I won't feel so alone. Because for real, though, we've all been feeling kind of lonely, have we not? It seems like that we, as light workers, we seem to be all spread out, and all around us seem to be the people that are still sleeping in their ignorance. Weird, right? It's weird to me, but it has to be that way, because maybe we need to spread the light around evenly, like a blanket distributed all over the planet. And that's my final thoughts, at least for today. I hope that you are happy and healthy as we end the show, and that you continue to have happy and healthy thoughts. And if you don't, remember to meditate and ask your angels to help you and your higher self to help you, and that you ask for God himself. He's never too busy. He created you, and he will be with you when you ask. Or you might want to say she or the source. Use the word that's most comfortable for you. I say God. Most people understand the word God. And when I say it, it's not in a religious context for me. I always mean it in a non-religious way. Anyway, that's it, guys. That's all I got to say about that. I'm tired. I've got to re-record the introduction because it is still not uploaded, I don't think. And so it looks like it's going to be just a little bit late. Sorry about that, but hey, it still says it's uploading since 6:29, and now it's 9. It's almost been 3 hours. Chances are it will never upload. So we're gonna do this again. Anyway, I hope that you are well and taking a moment to ask your guides and maybe your Pleiadian ascension partner to be with you as you meditate. Just a quick reminder about that. All right, I'm signing off. I'll be back tomorrow with all unique and original programming, just like always. Signing off with peace and joy and the high vibes of the holy fifth dimension. Until next time, guys. Peace. Metaphysical Soul Speak is run on sponsors and listener support. This means listeners like you. If you are so inclined to support my efforts and my little podcast, please visit me at anchor.fm/metaphysical and pledge an amount of your choosing today. Thank you.